What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Chiefs Zone Podcast. Farzin Vasugian here with you on a Monday night. It is the Monday after the Kansas City Chiefs season. No, it is not February. It is early January. We are in the first week of January, and we are recapping a Kansas City Chiefs football season. I cannot recall the last time we had to recap a Chiefs season in early January, but got to get with the times, I guess. So here we are, nonetheless. A lot to get into. I am back from Las Vegas, attended the very thrilling season finale for the Kansas City Chiefs. So a lot to go over here, And I want to hear from you guys. Obviously, we did not do a post-game podcast last night since I was at the game, suffering through my 3 hours. My weekly 3 hours this season, like the rest of you. But nonetheless, since we didn't do a post-game podcast last night, I will open up the lines for you guys to call in. I'll have the link for you guys in just a moment. Not ready for you guys just yet. I don't want to keep you guys on hold too long. But if you want to call in, just be on standby. Be ready for it, because I want to hear from you guys. You can talk about yesterday's game. You can talk about the season. You can talk about the Chiefs moving to Kansas. Whatever is on your mind with the Kansas City Chiefs, I want to hear from you guys. And if you're too shy, you don't want to call in, hey, I'll read some of the comments on tonight's podcast as well. So if I don't get to your comment right away, just keep commenting. We'll come across it at some point, hopefully. So we'll get right into it. Fesco's claiming Mahomes is going to ask for a trade. Yeah. If Fesco said it, then it must be true. I mean, come on. All right. But yeah, we'll I'm sorry. I just can't. That's too funny. Listen, I used to work with Bob. Bob's a good guy and all, but no, that's not happening. Come on. All right. I don't even know how to transition from that, because that is too damn funny, but neither here nor there. Obviously, the Chiefs have some things to figure out, no question about it. But this is a football team that failed at 6-11. This has to be one of the most disappointing teams in sports history, because of the expectation, what was supposed to happen, what they went through the last 7 years, and for them to not just come up short of making the playoffs, they were not a good football team. And I know something that drives a lot of Chiefs fans crazy is Andy Reid talking about how they were so close. They were 1 or 2 plays away. Well, he's not wrong. I mean, the Chiefs were 1 or 2 plays away in a lot of their close losses this year. Same way they could have lost a lot of their close wins last year. But at the end of the day, you don't get bonus points for almost winning a game. I know ugly wins, especially when you have a lot of them, they can't feel great. But I've said this many times, I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. I mean, and obviously for Kansas City, there's no such thing as losing pretty. You lose 11 football games, it is a problem. It is a big problem. So we'll touch on that. And also, I know a lot of you guys want to talk about the NFL draft. Listen, I can't say I have like a clear-cut favorite for the Chiefs to draft at number 9. But I know a lot of you guys want to get into that, so we'll touch on that. Potential options the Chiefs could look at with the 9th pick of the NFL draft. Before we go any further, this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That is where I go to for all my sports ticketing needs. In fact, I got to give a shout out to SeatGeek. That is where I went for my Chiefs and Raiders tickets. So a shout out to them. Also, a nice shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs for inviting me on the field before pregame. Had the privilege and honor of meeting Tavia Hunt and Tammy Reed. Tammy Reed is pretty damn cool. I mean, she comes off just like how she did in the docuseries. But you want to have a chance to sit up close and maybe shake hands with one of these big names from the Kansas City Chiefs, or even get an autograph, a high five, a towel, a headband, a glove. I sat, for those who didn't see, I sat right above the visiting team's tunnel. which is where obviously the Chiefs were going in and out of. And it got pretty interesting, especially when you're up close with all those players there. So if you want great seats like that, go to SeatGeek. That's where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs. If you're a new SeatGeek customer, use my promo code Farzine and you will save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Real quick story before I go any further. So I went to a preseason game this year, sat front row there, very close to where the Chiefs tunnel is, which is behind the 50-yard line. And there was an incident after that game where two grown-ass adults were close to fist fighting. I mean, there was shoving that already took place, and they both got shoved into their own kids, which wasn't a pretty scene at all. And then, thankfully, there wasn't any of that, at least where I was. But again, because I was so close to the players, look, I'm one of those people. I know how extremely rare it is to get an autograph. And if someone is extremely generous to want to sign an autograph from someone that might be, 10 feet above you, they'll do it. But the amount of people that create like a little fish hook to put almost like they're fishing almost, they'll attach their hat to a string or something. And then I remember somebody threw a hat at one of the players' heads and he shouted, "It's for my son." The player, and I'll be honest, I did not catch who that player was. The player just tossed it right back to the crowd. Probably didn't even know who he was throwing it back to. Dude, if you want an autograph that badly, go spend a few $100 or even $1,000 extra and get a much closer seat. No player is going to want to sign an autograph with you being 10, 15 feet above, throwing a hat or a jersey at their head, and you really expecting to have that back signed. I'm sorry. I just have to get that off my chest. Like, if you really want an autograph that badly, go spend extra money and get up front. Don't be a jackass and throw things at players' heads. Just because they're players and making a lot of money does not mean they're obligated to sign something because you threw it at them. I just think you're a jackass if you do that. But neither here nor there. All right, let's talk about this season, because there is a lot to go over right now. Obviously, injuries became a huge deal in the last couple of weeks, but this was already an issue in terms of the team's performance before the injuries. I mean, this offense, at one point, the Chiefs had a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. So what happened? I think the schedule did get more challenging, but it wasn't so awful to the point where this Chiefs team could not contend. They overcame an 0-2 start and went 5-1 after that 0-2 start. So they looked pretty good. They were the betting favorites at one point to win the Super Bowl. But then they blew a lead against the Broncos on the road, where they had the lead. It was Travis Kelce's franchise record-breaking touchdown score, and they had 2 more drives to either extend the lead or take back the lead, because the Broncos tied it at one point. And what do you know? The Chiefs don't even get a single first down the rest of that game ever since they took the lead. And it was things like that where the Chiefs go an entire quarter or an entire half just looking like the worst football team on the field. Again, this was before the Patrick Mahomes injury. So I think this Chiefs football team right now, when you look at why you lost these games, and I know Andy Reid was asked about that, he talked about the penalties, he talked about the dropped passes, the mistakes that led to drives ending. Um, he also talked about, in a separate question, talked about being able to set up the players for better success. And I think he's referring to the play calling and the offensive scheme. I think from Andy Reid's perspective, and look, when you have a 6-win season, especially when you add in the fact the expectations were much higher than 6 wins, I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around from ownership, GM, coaching staff, players, everyone across the board. Everybody has to take ownership of the 6 wins here. Whether you're Clark Hunt, Brett Veach, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, like everyone has to take accountability here. I don't know what's going to happen with the coaching staff. I know Andy Reid was asked about this, and he said a couple times, he said, hey, look, logical question, but I'm not there yet, which I don't really believe, because whenever teams, their season comes to an end after week 18, or right after week 18, to be clear, they immediately make coaching changes. They start letting coaches go. When you miss the playoffs, you can't just bring back your entire coaching staff. A lot of Cincinnati Bengals fans are frustrated because Mike Smith announced that Duke Tobin's coming back as a GM and that Zach Taylor's coming back as the head coach. And then Zach Taylor in his press conference today said that the entire coaching staff is coming back. A team with the exact same record as the Chiefs. So think of what Zach Taylor just said to the media and to the public, and think if Andy Reid told you, hey, we're bringing back our entire coaching staff. Now, at the moment, it's not possible because rumors are Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo are both supposed to get looks for head coaching opportunities. The Tennessee Titans have put in a request to speak to both Nagy and Spags. Obviously, Chiefs Kingdom has a very strong preference as to which one they would like to see get a head coaching job and which one they would rather stay. But let's just say neither one of them gets a head coaching job. You have to make changes regardless. And look, there was the rumor over the weekend that Matt Nagy, even if he doesn't get the 10 job, he's expected to go elsewhere for an offensive coordinator position where he can have play calling ability. He'll have the responsibility of being a play caller, which, by the way, I think that really helps answer the question of who calls the plays. If Matt Nagy wanted to leave Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, that great setup you have, and I know that doesn't reflect that this year, but would Matt Nagy want to leave that and go be a play caller again elsewhere? No. If he wants to be a play caller elsewhere, that means he's not getting that in Kansas City. So that tells you who the play caller is in Kansas City. It never was Bieniemy. It never was Nagy. It's always been Andy Reid. And listen, I think Reid does deserve some criticism for the play calling. It's not our first time ever criticizing him for the play calling, but I still think the offensive coordinator still holds responsibility with this football team. Just because you're an OC doesn't mean you're just OC by title and Andy Reid's a play caller. No, we've seen offensive coordinators who are not play callers get head coaching jobs in the NFL. But for the Chiefs, with Nagy, and I did a whole YouTube video on this, so I'm not going to go into great detail, but go look at Patrick Mahomes' numbers under Eric Bieniemy as OC and under Matt Nagy as the OC, and go look where the Chiefs ranked offensively in total yards and points scored under Bieniemy and under Nagy. In fact, I'll pull it up right now. I have not even looked this up, so I'm going to look it up with you guys right now. But it's not even remotely close to being the same. Under Eric Bieniemy, if this advertise goes away, under Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs ranked in the top 6 every single year from 2018 to 2022. That's 5 years with Bieniemy as OC. The Chiefs ranked in the top 6 in points and yards. But under Nagy, they never finished in the top over 15th in points scored. It was 15th in 2023, 15th in 2024, 21st this year. Now, in terms of total yards, 2023 was 9th, which is all hell impressive considering all the drops that year. 2024, they were 16th. Big drop off there, which, look, I guess I can excuse a little bit because of the injuries to Isaiah Pacheco, Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, 2 terrible offensive tackles last year. But this year, you got your wide receiver trio. You even had Tyquan Thornton as part of your mix. And you upgraded that offensive line. Kingsley moved from left tackle to left guard, a much better place for him for sure. And you drafted Josh Simmons. And I know Simmons was unavailable for some games because of a personal matter, but Jalen Moore was just fine at left tackle. He wasn't great, but he was fine for those 4 games. So you don't have the ability to create excuses that there were injuries and all these other things, because the Chiefs, and I know it wasn't often because of the Worthy injury, the Rice suspension, and Josh Simmons being unavailable for a few games because of a personal matter, but there were a couple of points this year where you were at full strength, and the Chiefs still did not look like the dominant football team that they should have looked like. And I think, the players have to take accountability for it. But I think a big reason for that is the offensive scheme. Again, this is not an accident. Here's my thing. I think football fans, sports fans in general, are not patient. Whenever someone gets drafted and they don't make an impact within 2 games, everybody labels them a bust. And I'm talking about first-round draft picks, obviously. With Nagy, 2023... those numbers weren't great. Last year, the numbers weren't great either, and I was able to excuse last year to an extent because of the immense amount of injuries the Chiefs had. But this year, you didn't have injuries up until very late in the season. I mean, the season was already lost before the injuries started piling up. It's not an accident. This is not a coincidence. This Chiefs offense was firing on all cylinders, operating in a very strong manner under Eric Bieniemy when he was the OC. And sure, Eric Bieniemy may not have gotten a head coaching job. He may not have been the play caller, but he certainly was responsible for some of the offensive success between 2018 and 2022. Patrick Mahomes won 2 league MVPs during that span. Since then, Mahomes, he was MVP, a front runner for MVP at one point this year, but that was just for a little bit. And then we didn't see that same Mahomes after that. So this Chiefs team, they've got a lot to figure out, and I think they need a better offensive coaching staff. And by the way, listen, whether you agree with Eric Bieniemy coming back or not, fine. But don't give me this bullshit of, Eric Bieniemy got fired by the Commanders and UCLA. Well, tell me one coach that was retained by the Commanders when they let everyone go in 2023. Nobody stuck around. And by the way, who was your quarterback? Sam Howell. Name me. I don't know who you guys think is the greatest offensive coordinator in NFL history. Do you think that offensive coordinator would have had any success with Sam freaking Howell? And by the way, UCLA, tell me what UCLA's record was this year without Eric Bieniemy. Tell me who the quarterback was. Can anyone, without Googling it, tell me who was the quarterback for a majority of the games this year for UCLA? No. Eric Bieniemy, the reason he left Kansas City was because he was not getting a head coaching job, and he had to prove himself away from Andy Reid, from Patrick Mahomes. He had to prove he could do it without those guys, which I don't think is fair. I mean, Josh McDaniels got multiple opportunities with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick also being in New England. I know the second time McDaniels officially accepted a head coaching job, that was without Tom Brady, but he did verbally accept the Colts job. And that was when Brady and Belichick were still there. So to me, the way I just see it right now with this football team, There is so much talent on paper, but games are not won on paper. This was a wasted season. I will argue this till I'm blue in the face. This is the most talented group of wide receivers this team has ever had in the Mahomes era. Shit, I'll even say in Chiefs history. And don't get me wrong, like Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, that is a damn talented group of players right there. I think this group has better talent and has better speed. Now, who's all going to come back? I don't know. Is Hollywood Brown going to be back? Is Tyquan Thornton going to be back? What's Rashee Rice's contract situation going to look like? Who, by the way, he's your best wide receiver, and he has not been available for you a lot. Some of it is his own wrongdoing, and the other part of it has to do with injuries. And I don't know, the last few games with the concussion protocol, with him and Tyquan Thornton, coincidentally at the same time, they got a concussion, and they were both placed on IR at the same time. How much of that is due to the season being lost, and you just don't want to risk anything at that point? I don't know. I mean, Rashee Rice, we love what we saw from him last year, the first 3 games. That dude looked like he was going to be the best receiver in the league until that injury. This year, we just did not see that same effective, dominant Rashee Rice. We just didn't. Joshua says Thornton will be back, and that's it. I'd be fine with that. I still think you can win. I would prefer Hollywood come back, but I think Thornton should get Hollywood's playing time. I still think Hollywood Brown is a good asset. Listen, I know it's the Raiders, so we can't put too much stock into what happened in yesterday's game, but damn it, man, Shane Buechele threw a 51-yard pass on this wasn't a screenplay, a bubble screen, or any of that crap. This was a down the field pass, and I tweeted immediately in all caps. I said, where the fuck was that all year? Where was that? Where was that offense all season? And again, I recognize it's the Raiders. Both sides had a bunch of backups in the game, but I still saw a 51-yard bomb from Shane Buechele to Hollywood Brown. And this is what I expected from Hollywood Brown last year. Unfortunately, last year, you got a dent on the offense in the very first preseason snap because Hollywood Brown had that shoulder injury, and that sidelined him longer than expected, much longer than expected. So, yeah, Tony, 6-game suspension didn't help Rice. No, you're right. But it's not just those 6 games. I mean, he's dealt with some injuries as well. So, listen, I know there were some rumors that Rice was going to have his court date and all of that in March of this year. I'm glad that they got it over with to start 2025 because you really needed to put this in the past. Unfortunately, Rice did not come back, giving the offense a big boost mid-season like I thought he was going to. That did not happen. But now that's in the past. You have Rice and Worthy coming back. Listen, I know a lot of people are on Xavier Worthy for taking a step back this year, and he took a big step back this year. And I don't know how much of it has to do with the injury he suffered in week 1 where he collided with Kelsey. Which, by the way, that leads me to my next point. The whole thing with offensive scheme, I remember in week 1 of the 2023 season, 2 players almost collided. In week 1 of this season, Kelsey and Worthy collided. And I don't remember what game it was this year. Juju and Rice almost collided. Juju, being a longtime veteran, recognized what was going on, and he basically just moved the hell out of the way and was not able to run his route at the speed he needed to because it was either get the hell out of Dodge and I guess slow down your own momentum on the route run or collide with your own teammate, which would have been the second year in a row Rice would have had a devastating injury colliding with his own teammate. The Mahomes one, okay, that wasn't necessarily a collision per se, but friendly fire, if you will. I mean, Kareem Hunt collided with Josh Simmons' wrist. And I obviously Kareem Hunt did not do that intentionally, but it happened still. That's the other thing too. Like under Eric Bieniemy, I never saw constant drops or constantly missing guys down the field or constantly your right tackle committing penalties 55 times in the span of 3 years. I didn't see guys running into each other when Bieniemy was the OC. I saw that with Nagy. Like this again, this is not a coincidence, you guys. This is happening way too much. The thing about Worthy, I still believe in Xavier Worthy. I really do. With that speed, like, listen, this is not, and I don't mean any disrespect because this guy, and I'm about to refer to Luis Rees-Zammit, remember the former rugby star? Well, now he's back in rugby, but he joined the Kansas City Chiefs with an opportunity. And everyone said this guy is a freakishly talented athlete, which Luis Rees-Zammit is. But Luis Rees-Zammit is a talented rugby player, not a talented football player. And listen, he took football very seriously, so I'm not shaming him or making fun of him or any of that. But just because someone has speed does not mean it's going to translate into everything. But Xavier Worthy, and Brad says he has track speed but not pad speed. See, I disagree because I saw a lot of games this year and last year where Xavier Worthy torched a lot of defensive backs. It's just that Mahomes and Worthy, for whatever reason, in these last 2 years, they were not able to get the deep pass game down together. And we all thought, oh, okay, Worthy's a rookie. He and Mahomes are still kind of trying to get a feel for each other. They're still learning about each other. No, that's not it, man. Like it just wasn't working. And again, I put it on Matt Nagy and the offensive scheme. I just feel like this Chiefs team has so much talent. They wasted this year with that. And listen, I know a lot of you guys mentioned this last night when I did a short live stream from my hotel room, which was only on Facebook, by the way. But one of you guys mentioned this was a terrible year to not make the playoffs. In a year where a lot of people are saying it's the most wide open, no Patrick Mahomes, no Joe Burrow, no Lamar Jackson. By the way, what in the hell, man? The ending to that game, I went crazy. That has to be a heartbreaking way to end the season. I mean, yeah, it kind of happened to the Bills against the Chiefs with Tyler Bass. It's obviously happened in Kansas City before. But man, like with Pittsburgh's kicker missing an extra point, all you've got to do is kick a field goal and win. And Isaiah Likely, that guy made the toughest catch on 4th down to bring you in field goal range. But it happens, man. It happens. Team, unfortunately, underperforming poorly this season for the first time since 2016. 2016, they had the number 2 seed. That was back when the 2 seed had a bye. So I don't know if I would say they performed poorly in 2016. I mean, they went, 12-4 that year? Man, I'm not about to compare a 12-4 season to a 6-11 season. I would have to say 2014. Yeah, there are a lot of parallels. 0-2 starts, missed the playoffs. Only difference is this was a losing season and 2014 wasn't. But in 2014, the Chiefs, after overcoming an 0-2 start, they then had, I think they won like 8 of their next 9 games, and they had an 8-3 record, and they looked like a top 5 team in the league. That was the same year they destroyed the hell out of the Patriots on Monday Night Football, and everyone thought this was when Tom Brady should officially go away. Belichick should officially go away. Remember that? It was that year. But then the Chiefs ran into a wall where they lost 3 in a row. They let all these Randy Kovitz, who was with the Kansas City Star at the time, he even said it to Andy Reid's face. He said, hey, you have all these no-name running backs running all over you. Like, you had a bad defense then. And that was kind of the start of the conversation of whether or not Bob Sutton should be let go. And eventually he was after the 2018 season, after Dee Ford was offside. By the way, if you guys want to call in, the link is right there. I'm ready for you guys. I've been doing a lot of the talking for 30 minutes, and I think it's your guys' turn to call in and weigh in with your thoughts. So I would love to hear from you guys. I've read some of you guys' comments, but if any of you guys want to call in, click on the link, turn on your audio, your video, put in your name, and I want to hear from you guys. We did not do a post-game podcast last night, so we're making up for it for today. I just feel like this season where you started off 0-2, but then you went on a hot run. You won 5 of 6. And then you just ran into a brick wall. And this Chiefs team, I think, is much more talented than that. Now, I understand the Chiefs, when it comes to total points scored this season, they ranked 21st in that. They were 15th when Mahomes got injured. I don't know where they were in total offense. But pre-Mahomes injury, you finished 15th in scoring 3 years in a row under Matt Nagy as your offensive coordinator. You were in the top 6 in total offense and points scored all 5 years with Bieniemy. In fact, even in 2017, that was Nagy's last year in his first stint as OC. Chiefs were 6th in points scored and 5th in total offense. And listen, that's why I was willing to give Matt Nagy a chance. I will never judge Matt Nagy for his run in Chicago as an offensive coordinator. What happened to him in Chicago was him as a head coach. Coming back to Kansas City as an OC, I actually like the idea. Obviously, he started off as a quarterback's coach, waiting for Bieniemy to move on, but eventually he took the reins, and the Chiefs were just never able to figure it out. When you look at the Chiefs' defense, in 2023, they were 2nd in points allowed and 2nd in total yards, also 2nd in sacks that year. Last year, they were 4th in total, 4th in points allowed, 9th in total defense. This year, 6th in points allowed, 10th in total defense. Now, the defensive numbers have gradually, we've barely been talking about the defense on this podcast tonight. The defense, the numbers have gone down, especially with forced turnovers and sack production. And I know Nick Bolton acknowledged that in his press conference today. You still have a top 10 defense. I mean, the Chiefs defense this year did enough. Now, do I think there were a couple of games this year where you look at the defense being a big liability? Yes. I would say the Chargers game immediately sticks out. The Jacksonville game, although, you know, I think both sides earned some responsibility for that one. What other games would I point to? The Buffalo game, the Cowboys game for sure. I'd say there are 4 games I would really put on the defense. Still, I don't think that's enough to blame the defense for this year's collapse. No, not at all. But I just think there's a lot more that can be done on offense. Because I think the defense has room to improve. Their sack production was not even close to what it was 2 years ago when they were 2nd in sacks that year. And they've got to find a way to force more turnovers. And I think if you have a better replacement for Tershawn Wharton, and I believe Omar Norman-Lott is that guy, if he stays healthy, I think the sack numbers can come back. Omar Norman-Lott was going after quarterbacks last year up until his injury. Like, he was putting some pressure on those guys. So if he can stay healthy, and you might need to get another defensive tackle, whether in the draft or free agency, to kind of help ensure if Omar Norman-Lott gets injured again, you have an insurance policy there right beside Chris Jones. Because if you don't, guess what? Chris Jones is getting double teamed again. And Derek Notty's not going to help you. Mike Pennell, I'd love Mike Pennell back. I think he's a good depth player at the defensive tackle position. So let's see what the Chiefs do. There's a lot to figure out. If you guys want to call in, the link is right there. Please comment below if you want to, or click on the link, turn on your audio, your video, put in your name, and let's chat it up. Like I said, we didn't do a podcast last night, so obviously could not take any calls. So we're doing it tonight. We'll do a season recap, and hitting leadoff tonight is going to be Daniel. Daniel, you're on the Chiefs Zone podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. First off, Is that a UCF Golden Knights jersey?
Sorry, I'm not even prepared, man. I'm like the Chiefs offense this year. I don't even have my headphones. All right, Daniel.
What's up, man? I was teasing you. I was like, is that a UCF Golden Knights jersey?
Yeah, I've been getting that sometimes.
Oh, all right. I say that because I work for UCF, and
that's right. You're in Florida. Yes,
I worked the Kansas game. I actually did that game, so I was there when UCF beat Kansas.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, I watched that in Circa Sportsbook. That was a lot of fun. I don't know what's going on with Peterson and his playing time, but we don't need to talk about that.
No, I just wanted to joke with you with that. I think when I would like to see Worthy use like Dallas uses Turpin. I think if we use him like that, he would have a little more juice into the offense. And obviously, I think we need a new play caller. But I don't mind Eric Bieniemy as much as I think it's all about Andy Reid. Andy Reid needs to change his schemes because I think he needs to just go a little more and trust in more of those running backs. I don't want Jeremiah Love. I think he's going to be a Clyde Edwards-Helaire type of running back with the Chiefs just because Andy Reid doesn't use running backs that much. My question to you is, we got the 9th pick. Old, not Brett Veach, but like Carl Peterson would always trade that pick and go lower. Do you think we should trade that pick down to get more picks? Obviously, hopefully we get more picks if they trade McDuffie or when they trade McDuffie, just to get more picks. And maybe you can get a better running back at 15 because I think we need a defensive rusher as well and off the tackle.
Here's what I think. I think you should keep the 9th pick, and here's why. This is because we've heard even Belichick said this on Pat McAfee's show. He mentioned that the Chiefs, part of their struggles with not being able to get a good offensive line, and he said this last year, was that they keep picking 32nd, 31st, 29, 28 for so many years because they keep playing in the late January and in February every year almost. Now you have a top 10 pick. If you trade down and there's someone you really want, you do risk potentially losing that guy because trades will happen. Let's say you trade from 9 to 15. Okay, you might get a 4th round pick somewhere in there as well, but then you risk, someone else could even trade up to 13, 14, or 15 and get a player that you really want. I don't know. It's hard to say right now, Daniel, especially this being in January the 5th, and a lot can happen from now until then. But I think you got to keep the 9th pick. Whether it's Jeremiah Love, whether it's who's that edge rusher that a lot of people like out of Miami U, Bain, Reuben Bain Jr., David Bailey. I think you've got to seriously consider keeping that pick and getting one of those top 10 guys. I think you need a top 10 football player to come in and help your team this year.
Okay. And then as far as the season goes, I mean, I can go back. Obviously, if they touch, they touch Lawrence down on the ground, we win that game. A couple other little games. However, I do not want to hear ever again complain about how we don't Tony Romo and Jim Nantz, because those two guys that called the game last night was horrible. By the way, I mean, bad enough it was like a preseason game, and I wanted to win because I wanted that undefeated streak in Vegas and on that stadium.
Yeah, I did too.
But they were I don't know if you heard the broadcast, but they were just talking nonsense. And I think one of the guys that was on there was like, yeah, back when I played with the Chiefs. It's like, this ain't story time with the Chiefs when you're a career, man.
I watched the game on the flight, but I watched the condensed version. So it's literally just them giving play-by-play. But I've heard some complaints. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that is Chris Lewis and Kyle Long's first time doing an NFL game. So listen, they were rookies. They're also practice squad guys. So I think there was some of that as well. But I heard a lot of complaining about the call.
So I mean, last thing is, you think we're going to keep Oladokun as the practice squad quarterback, or do you think somebody will actually look at him and like maybe try him out somewhere?
I don't think Chris Oladokun impressed anybody to where he's a number 2, but I do think I know this. Chris Oladokun is valued by the Chiefs as a practice squad quarterback. Listen, you had your number 3 and your number 4 quarterbacks out there yesterday. Of course, you're going to look like shit. There's a reason why nobody scored a touchdown yesterday. So Chris Oladokun, especially, and you know this, Daniel, just as well as anyone else, there are far more running quarterbacks today than there were 20 years ago. So that's what Chris Oladokun brings to the table as a practice squad QB. He is the opposing Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, whoever else, especially when they're preparing for a quarterback that runs a whole lot more. That's what he does for the Chiefs in practice. I don't think a lot. I shared this story before, but let me share it again. And I appreciate the call, Daniel. I'll let you go. Belichick was on a podcast. I think it was Ryan Clark's podcast. He said that they gave Damon Huard a game ball after winning the AFC Championship against the Colts. Again, this is Damon Huard, not with the Chiefs, with the Patriots, when he backed up Tom Brady. Well, why did they give Damon Huard the game ball? Because Damon Huard spent all week serving as Peyton Manning in practice. He acted as Peyton Manning, and he made sure all 11 guys on defense knew what to expect from Peyton Manning, and the defense had a great game against him. Chris Oladokun is Damon Huard. He is the guy. And listen, that's not a slight to Damon Huard. Damon Huard was on this podcast last year, and he shared a very similar story to where his career up until when he started some games in 2006 for Trent Green. I mean, his career highlight was pretending to be Peyton Manning in practice. Chris Oladokun, because of the amount of running quarterbacks we have in the NFL today, he prepares the defense for that. When the defense has a good game, yes, Chris Jones deserves credit. McDuffie, Bolton, all those guys. But no one ever wants to credit the practice squad quarterback. They essentially help the defense get ready for those types of QBs. So I do think, to answer your question, Daniel, yes, I think Chris Oladokun will be brought back as a practice squad QB. Now, do I think Chris Oladokun is going to try to test the waters and see if anyone out there is interested in him being a number 2? Yeah, I'm sure he'll try. But I don't think any NFL team out there looked at Chris Oladokun and said, number 2 quarterback. No, I don't think anyone did. So his options are probably very limited. And maybe his best option is to come back as a practice squad quarterback for the Chiefs. All right, let's go to Aaron. Aaron, you're on the Chiefs Zone podcast. How are you, sir?
Hey, Farzine. This isn't the season that I wanted. Let's be honest, and it's pretty much the most obvious take. But as far over the cap as the Chiefs are, this might be a really, really good time to go ahead and blow things up as much as people are going, oh, God, no, Mahomes is in his prime and we can't blow up the cap. We're paying a lot of people a lot of money in an effort to do what exactly? Because we have wide receivers that are going to want a lot of money. Kelsey, that's a question I was going to want to ask you. If he goes ahead and is his contract expired, or is he going to have to sign a new one? And if he just plays one more year
right now,
I'm sorry.
Travis, I thought you were asking if Travis Kelsey. Travis Kelsey is not under contract for next year.
Okay, so if we hired him for one more year, could he play for the league minimum and it not hurt us in a horrible way? Because it's his 13th year. The league minimum has to be kind of big. Considerably speaking.
Look, I know everyone's talking about how he's about to marry a billionaire and all that stuff. I still don't think Travis Kelsey is going to play from the goodness of his heart. Listen, and look, you know this just as well as anyone else. Travis Kelsey was your best pass catcher this year and last year. Yet everyone out there says, oh, Kelsey's regressing. He's washed up. Sure, he may not be in his prime anymore, but he's still Kansas City's leading pass catcher the last 2 years, catching 800 some yards. So
at the same time, he's the one that can get into the flat and get some yards for us, as opposed to Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Rashee Rice, who were supposed to do incredible things this season, and they, let's be honest, quite frankly, they didn't. And with as many things as this team needs now, with a number 9 pick, there are so many places that you can go with that pick. How do you really whittle that down? Because left tackle is important, right tackle is important, Running back is something nice, but it's not something that I would spend personally a first round pick on at number 9.
Yeah.
There's a lot of needs on this team, especially with the cap hit that we are at. We're at a point where I believe you kind of have to blow it up a little bit and then turn around
Hold on,
and
Aaron. I
supplement.
got to ask you a question because you've mentioned blowing it up a couple of times, and I think if you ask 10 different people, what does that mean, blowing it up? You might get 9 different answers. So, in your opinion, like let's say you're the GM, how do you approach the cap and blowing it up? I know that's a very long-winded question there, but what's your suggestion?
I think we have to address left tackle and right tackle. And at the same time, we need to address wide receiver and something in the secondary. That's a lot to address in the offseason all at once. Yeah. Because let's face it, Patrick Mahomes is going into his 10th season. Theoretically, he can go 15 years. Theoretically, but let's be honest with ourselves. This season and last season, Patrick Mahomes has regressed, and it feels to me like Andy Reid has tried to make him more of a pocket passer as opposed to that NFL streak kind of thing that we had the first 1 through 7 seasons that we got from Patrick Mahomes. So I would love to see more of that and see if we can't get some receivers around him that can work inside of that NFL streak kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Listen, I'll say this, and to be clear, for those who don't know, the Chiefs are for 2026, $52.7 million over the cap. That is the most. And they have 44 contracts. That's not a lot. Yeah. And listen, cutting Jawan Taylor and Mike Dana, I think will free up $29 million. That's still a lot of work. I know they'll probably try to do something with Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones contracts. Trading Trent McDuffie will help a little bit. We also don't know what the cap number is going to be. It always goes up, so that's going to help you a little bit. But yeah, there are a lot of moving pieces that need to come into play, not just to get under the cap, but also give yourself some freedom to be able to do things. So, yeah, there is a lot to figure out for sure. I'll give you one last comment before we move on.
I just think that I don't think that running back is our number one priority that we need to address. Something on the line, offensive or defensive, because let's not forget, Chris Jones isn't a spring chicken anymore. So we have a lot of things up in the air. The plates that are spinning are numerous, and I am incredibly curious as to what Brent Veach is going to do with each of those plates.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason, and I appreciate the call, Aaron. Thanks for calling in. Some good thoughts there. And by the way, if you guys want to call in, please click on the link, put in your name, turn on your audio, your video. We'll get to you guys in order. I have coming up next is Kieran, Bob, and Austin. And if anyone else calls in after that, you'll be behind those guys. So please be patient. I want to give everyone the time they want to weigh in with their thoughts. I know he mentioned left tackle and right tackle. Look, I know with Simmons, it's his second year in a row. This year with the Chiefs, last year with Ohio State with a season-ending injury. That's not ideal. When he's on the field, that dude looks like he's going to be a great football player at left tackle. That's who you want protecting Patrick Mahomes. Now, you got to have a viable insurance policy because he missed a couple of games due to personal matters and he got injured again. Is Jalen Moore really a viable option? Esapole, is he someone who you can rely on at left tackle? You sure as hell cannot rely on Chu Godric. Did you not see what he did on the play on the safety there the Raiders got, which kind of ended up being the difference maker in yesterday's game? He didn't know where to look for a defender, and as soon as he realized the defender that's about to go destroy Buechele, it was too little, too late, barely touched the defender, and he got destroyed. Listen, I think Jawan Taylor has moments as a pass blocker, but the guy commits Way too many penalties. Not just commits way too many penalties, does not know how to line up after 3 years, 55 penalties, 46 of them accepted, I think. And not just that, he is committing penalties at the most inconvenient. Not that there's ever a convenient time to commit a penalty, but it's like the Chiefs have a big gain and they're going down the field and they look like they're about to get something going. And then, no, illegal formation or holding, something happens. It's like, man, it's 55 tallies. That ain't good. That ain't good. Kieran is next here on the Chiefs Zone podcast. What's up, Kieran?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Good. Appreciate you calling in. What's up? What's on your mind?
Yeah, not much. I first thing I put in the comments about things that for talking points that I put down, and I think one of the things that we have to address is definitely our wide receiver core. As we talked about it, that we are supposed to have this dynamic wide receiver core, and we're going to be lights out again. And yeah. I think the biggest thing, I've seen games live, and I kind of really watch, and in my private, my real life, I'm a scout for hockey, and the things that we look for, the small minute things, and our receiving core sucks at route running. Instead of running, the only two that do great or above average is Thornton and Rice. Those two guys, they cut on an angle, they go, and that's a big reason why they get open. When you're looking at the other guys, Brown, Juju, even Worthy, they're terrible. They're running into each other. They're bending their routes. And in man-to-man, that's a big reason why we could not get any separation, and Pat could not throw down the field and open things up because the route running sucked. And I think another thing that's come into play, and we've discussed this before on your feed, is since Mike Kafka has left, Pat Mahomes has regressed huge. Accuracy downfield has been horrible. He can't hit receivers that are open. So those are two things that we have to really address on the off season, is to find better coaches that can do that. Now, hopefully Mike Kafka does come back if we approach him. The running back situation, let's face it, Pacheco, he's a fan favorite in that, but he doesn't hit the holes. He can't break away from the speed. We need somebody that can break away. All the top teams now, that if you look at Stafford, you look at Herbert, go down the line, Lamar, all those good quarterbacks, they have a solid running back now that can hit the hole and have breakaway speed. We don't have that. And that's a big reason why we're always chasing the chains rather than being more dominant. It's putting more pressure on Pat to do that running for us. The next thing that we really have to do is, we just brought up the defense. Even though we're the top 10, you look at the outside, the cornerbacks are free safeties. Look at our free safeties. Cook and them, their contracts are up. Our tight ends, so we're going to have to find two safeties because both safety contracts are up. Our tight end core, besides Travis, we didn't use Tunyon in any kind of positive way after, his preseason, and that looked exceptionally well, that we had chemistry. So our entire tight end core is going to have to be revamped. So we're looking at bigger changes than we all think, and we've been blessed for, 10 years of football, of playoff football and championships and that. So, 1 year reset is something really good. But my question to you is, where do you think we have to address your number one address for?
You gave me a lot of number one addresses. Number one, listen, I think if you have an offensive line, a lot of other things will fall into place. Not saying everything else is going to be perfect, but I think if you have an offensive line, you at the very least increase your chances of maximizing Patrick Mahomes' output while he's in Kansas City. You can maximize his potential. So I'd like to think right tackle would be That's my number one priority. I know Jeremiah Love, that feels like a player that's too good to pass on if he's available at number 9. I think the defensive line certainly needs some help as well. I know you mentioned the defense and some of the players that they're going to be missing. They didn't do a good job of forcing turnovers this season. I think only 6 interceptions. And I was just looking while you were talking too, and I know Nick Bolton brought this up in the press conference today. The sack numbers have gone down. It was 57 sacks in 2023, 39 last year, 35 this year. So the sack numbers are going down. Now from 2023 to 2024 it was a big drop, but to answer your question, number one, I'd like the right tackle just to give Patrick Mahomes an opportunity. But I'll say this, with everything you said, nothing you said was incorrect, by the way, about the wide receivers and just kind of the struggles and the route running, all that stuff. But I still, and again, I've said this millions of times, I'll die on this hill. I still blame it on scheming and I think offensive coaching. I don't think Matt Nagy's a good offensive coordinator. I don't think Connor Ember's a good wide receivers coach. Maybe he'd be better coaching the running backs or something else, but I just don't feel like the Chiefs had the right offensive coaching staff in place. And I think that's made a big difference this year. Let me say this before I let you respond. 2022, who were your wide receivers? Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster. Let's forget about Juju because he didn't come back for the following year. But MVS, Sky Moore, you got Kadarius Toney during the season, Justin Watson. Kadarius Toney looked great at barely even knowing the offense. But then the following year, everyone is dropping passes. They were dropping passes the year before. That was the same gap, the same year where they changed offensive coordinators. I know I bring this up a lot, but that's just what I blame it on.
And I think you bring up a good thing right there about Watson. Here's a guy that nobody, you're going to double team Rice, you're going to double team, Worthy or something. Even, when he played with us with those guys, Watson would get open because he ran good routes. But at the same time, they weren't double covering him. And in man-to-man or a zone, he was picking that zone, and we could hit him downfield. He came up with big catches at the time, right? Yeah. When he did play with us. So I think one of the key aspects, too, is with Worthy. Yeah, he's got tons of speed. And as you said, he's got, he doesn't have turf thing, but he's got track speed. If every game you see him catch a ball, he had one guy to beat. He would go out of bounds or he'd fall on the ground right away. Wouldn't look for yaks after the catch. And he's like 30 pounds too light. And I think that's one aspect that he needs to do is put on weight. Now, is he going to lose speed if he puts on that kind of weight, 20 pounds, 15 pounds? Of course he's going to lose the speed, right? His hands, I think his hands are below average. He doesn't go up for jump balls or anything like that. We need a solid guy, and Thornton is that guy, but we're going to have to find guys now to help him out on that aspect. But I think the biggest thing that we're going to have to see is our whole tight end crew is going to be revamped. If Kelsey doesn't come back, Noah Gray, who he was a ghost, right? Tunyon, we didn't use all the whole course. So you're going to get a whole new tight end, and who's the most frequent guy that Pat has chemistry with is Kelsey and their tight ends when we need to. So that's going to be a big hole next year that we got to keep an eye on during the off season. Who do we go after and who do we sign?
Yeah. No, I appreciate the call, Karen. A lot of great thoughts there, and kind of like what Aaron was saying, with the cap situation, this is a bad year to have a lot of needs. You picked up. That's why I was really hoping they would have pulled off the three-peat last year, because you kind of saw the cap situation coming. And by the way, to his comment about guys like Brian Cook and some other guys who have some, they're about to test the free agent market. There are a lot of guys who have posted not necessarily a goodbye message, but at least a thank you message in case it does mean goodbye. We saw this with Jalen Watson a couple of days ago. Josh Williams did it this afternoon. And I get it, man. Like, when you're a great team, one problem you have, and it's a great problem to have, you can't keep everyone. We've already seen it with Tyreek Hill, L'Jarius Sneed, Joe Thuney, possibly Trent McDuffie this year. I don't know. I mean, there are fan favorites who are getting traded. But man, with the cap situation right now, and you're already kind of below average when it comes to contracts you have, there aren't a lot of guys. You don't have a lot of options. Again, we'll see what they do. Cutting Taylor and Dana, that's one big step there. Restructuring Mahomes and Jones, which is only going to kick the can down the road. How do you figure that out? When do you officially extend them so you don't have to restructure them every year? Because at some point, you're going to have to cross that bridge. Maybe that bridge is this year. I don't know, but there's a lot to figure out there. Chris says Juwan needs to post his goodbye post. Yeah, well, I suppose. Bob, you've been waiting very patiently. What's up, Bob?
What's up, Barzine? Hey, welcome back to KC.
Thank you.
Seeing you had a good time down there on the sideline.
Yes.
Had some beautiful scenery in front of you. Anyway, man, there's a lot. There's a lot to talk about this season. Really, I mean, it started off, with a lot of mental mistakes, and Patty couldn't hit shit down the field. These guys are not running clean routes.
Yeah.
I mean, that was our setup there for quite a while. Remember when we was winning them late? If we was going to win one or get close to winning one, it was in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But I really think that I don't think you can get a really decent price on a running back in the free agency. That I don't know all that's going to be available, but man, we definitely need some kind of a spark in the running game. Whether we use it or not, that's here or there. But I do agree that the two main things that make a team victorious in the end is you got to have an offensive line to protect the quarterback, keep him upright. I think Patty played injured most of the year for us, and then towards the end, he couldn't go no longer.
By the way, I apologize. I'm laughing because Robert says F-bomb Bob, and everyone's liking that post. That's why I'm laughing.
Well, I don't know. They're dropping them F-bombs all year. I've made a lot of friends.
Yeah, I think you're out of F-bombs to drop. But anyway, I apologize. I cut you off.
Man, and I love the Kingdom. And I love the Chiefs, man. I mean, I love football in general. We're getting ready to see some really good powerhouse football. The way it's there's magic in it, man. Like last night, I thought, man, there goes the Steelers. When that boy missed that extra point, and then what happens? Did you see at the end where they showed the priest throwing his what do they call that water?
The holy water.
Yeah, the holy water.
I saw that
end, and sure enough, it came up. So, but getting back to the Chiefs, I think the offensive line has got to be addressed because, first of all, Simmons, I think he's got all the potential in the world, but does he really want to play football? I think that's what you got to ask yourself. I mean, if my mother was dying and I probably would go and get her all the help she needed and whatever, and get her lined out, and my family would be with her. But I as a professional, man, it's like being a fireman. You got to go to work, man. And he was gone for 6 games, man. What, did he come back for 2 games and then got injured?
Yeah, it was 4 games to be clear, but there was the bye week also with it. So yeah, it felt like almost 6 games. So
again, there's that conditioning part of that game, because you got to practice, man, to stay on top of your game and in any level of football, because that's what the coaches always said. If you're not in shape, you're going to get injured, and I think that's what happened to this cat. But I don't think his heart's in it, man. I don't know. So I do agree that we need a tackle, because how many times did we cuss out Taylor on the show afterwards? I mean, the guy just kept doing it, man. He just kept shooting himself in the foot.
Yeah.
If he could take a tremendous pay cut, then we think about keeping him, I think. But man, they got the checkbook out on these guys and just wrote a lot of loose money, man. The defense was still in the top 10, but man, they didn't really have the numbers that they've had in the past. And there's no emotion. I don't think they're playing with all the emotion that that they should be playing. I mean, me and you as a man, and we love the game and everything, and you went through all them years of playing football and you're in the NFL. And man, I mean, you had time. This is your time to show your talent and make your mark on the game. And I haven't seen none of that since this year.
Yeah.
And I see it in our upcoming when Patty first played the Patriots in the one we lost. That was a coaching fuck up there. And I had to get that F word in there. But you remember they gave Brady the ball. And
Yeah.
we lost to him. But I think that was Petty's first AFC game.
Yeah, his first AFC championship game. Yeah.
And you just seen the fire in them, man. I mean, I watch these teams coming up now in the playoffs. Man, they got so much fire in their bellies. I just didn't see that with the Chiefs at all. I don't know who brought them down, or maybe they gave them a bunch of fucking Valium at the end.
Let me just say this, Bob, because I've seen some people put this out there, and I'm not accusing any player of not putting their heart into it, but I have seen some speculation that some people feel like the Chiefs aren't as hungry. Like who's really hungry is Josh Allen, because he has always fell short. So
Absolutely.
But are the Chiefs hungry anymore? Like, I guess you can't necessarily be hungry when you've been to 7 straight AFC title games and 3 Super Bowl wins out of that. Again, I'm not accusing the Chiefs of not really putting their heart into it, though I've seen other people say the opposite. I don't know. Something just tells me maybe there's a little bit of truth to that. These 1-score games, I mean, they were close. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that because I know Andy's made that excuse of, we're a play or 2 away in these games, but it's not like they just got destroyed in all of these games. I mean, they were close in a lot of them. So
7 of them.
If they can make a tweak here and there, they're going to go back to being a better football team, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it really needs a lot. I mean, I do think they're going to have to probably pick up one linebacker somehow. They've got that backfield to address. Tight ends, I think they're going to be all right. Tight end, I think Kelsey's coming back. I think if he wasn't coming back, we'd already see him crying on TV somewhere because that's going to be a hard separation for him.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite players. So I watched the kid grow up, man. It's been exciting to watch him grow up and really be the man that he is. So, but he always played with a lot of passion, man. Same way with Patty. And I appreciate everything they gave us up to this point. I mean, man, I remember them. We had that game in Vegas yesterday. I said, this is a bad game, man. We had a lot of bad games. Think about the dog pound up in Cleveland. Them some bitches had thousands of bad games,
Yeah.
So I don't think we've had too many of them in the past 10 years. So I feel pretty fortunate to be alive to see them bring this through for us. And it's been a pleasure, watching them really. So anyway, I appreciate that you can do a lot for us, man, and bring our game to the front. And I was glad to see the Chiefs recognize you, man, and put you out there on the field yesterday.
That meant a lot. That was a lot of. That was
maybe you could go for. Hey, maybe you could go for the 3rd string quarterback.
No, I don't know about that.
Because I don't think that cat needs to stick around myself, man. I didn't see very much impressive about him.
Hey, I appreciate it though, Bob. Thank you.
Take care, brother.
All right, you as well. Thank you. Austin, I see you've been waiting very patiently. I will get to you in a minute here. Let me just respond to some of Bob's comments there. The point about Josh Simmons, and I know there's a lot made about the 4 games he missed for personal matters. Look, I don't like to talk about someone's personal life unless they choose to bring it up. And he said he's going to keep it private for now. Look, we don't know what happened. Obviously, something happened that needed his attention for those 4 weeks. He came back right before the bye week started. So, and I think Tony even said this too, that there's more to the story than we know. And I agree. We just don't know specifically what. Look, listen, we've all had situations like that. And I know another thing, a lot of people say, and I know Bob mentioned his former occupation being a firefighter, and always greatly appreciate first responders, that, you know, you got to get back to work. Not a lot of places will give you that freedom. Well, listen, man, when you're in the NFL, they give you that freedom. Okay. I know it may not sound fair, but that's just, you know, that's the situation he's in. So I'm not exactly sure, man. I ain't, you guys in the chat, man, I ain't here for the Tyler Thigpen slander. Listen, I like Tyler Thigpen in 2008. All right. I thought he was a good quarterback, man. He did. Remember that touchdown pass to Tyler Thigpen? To this day, regardless of time, score, the team's record, the situation, that, in my opinion, is the best play in Chiefs history. But I digress. Man, the Thigpen slander tonight. What the hell, man? Where did that come from? I've actually interacted with Tyler Thigpen in the past and trying to get him on the podcast. He's interested, but we just haven't found a time. I would love to have Thigpen on. Bob made some other points that I just don't really remember exactly what he mentioned, but yeah, his whole point, you know, the fact that there wasn't this killer instinct with this team. And if you watch the Chiefs docuseries, the first minute you hear Chris Jones, just his voice, you don't actually see the footage. He's responding to the team after getting whooped by the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And he's saying, if this hurts, well, it's supposed to. Yeah, absolutely. No one should ever feel good about losing like that. But I just wonder, like, if the Super Bowl was not a wake-up call, if the 0-2 start was not a wake-up call, which, listen, I've said this, they kind of got it going after the 0-2 start. What is it going to be then? Because NFL Network is saying there's going to be substantial roster changes, partly because of the salary cap. Well, there probably needs to be significant changes with the coaching staff. Again, I mentioned earlier, Zach Taylor of the Bengals, who, by the way, his team finished with the same record as the Chiefs. He told the media today they're going to bring back the entire coaching staff. In what world do you finish 6-11 and bring back everybody? Like, how does that make sense? So hopefully we just saw Matt Nagy coach his last game with the Chiefs. Hopefully Connor Embry coaches last game with the Chiefs. Andy Heck, I think, you know, he's had some good, some bad. So what they choose to do, but got to bring a better group of coaches on the offensive football. All right, Austin, I appreciate your patience, man. You've been waiting a long time, so I'll give you a couple of minutes, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, Farzan, before I start, man, I think that's really awesome. You got the Chiefs invited you down to the field to meet Tavia Hunt. That's amazing, man.
Thank you. And they were great, by the way. Shout outs to Tavia Hunt and Tammy Reed. Super. Tammy Reed, and I'll keep conversations private. Tammy Reed is hilarious. She is awesome. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. I got to meet Michael Phelps. He's a cool dude.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But I think it was a great run for the Chiefs, and I think that it was time for them to have a rebuild year, I guess. And I think that 3 things need to be addressed: their offensive line, their wide receivers, and their cornerbacks and all that. They need to pick up some draft picks and all that.
Yeah, they only have 6. Trading Trent McDuffie will help a little bit depending on what you get in return. They don't have a lot of freedom with the salary cap right now. Again, we'll see what the number will be and what moves they'll make, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be very active in free agency either. So that's what makes me nervous about this upcoming offseason.
It would be great if they got Jeremiah Love. And then I think Matt Nagy needs to go. And I think Travis Kelce will return for one more season.
Okay. Yeah, listen, I agree with you. I think Travis Kelce, he looked better this year at 36 than last year at 35. I will say that he was more effective this year. He had more yards and less catches, which, at 36 years old, I'd say that's impressive. As far as you're talking about Jeremiah Love, listen, I think he'd be a good running back. I just hope that the Chiefs have the right offensive line in place for him. And at the same time, I hope that the Chiefs utilize him.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts you have?
Not really. Happy
Okay.
New Year, man.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being patient and appreciate the comments. Happy New Year to you as well. Thank you, Austin. By the way, we are caught up on the call. So if you guys want to call in, hey, lines are open right now. So if you click in right away, you will be in the front of the line there. Universally, it feels like the majority of Chiefs fans want Jeremiah Love. For those of you in the chat, if you do not want Jeremiah Love, who do you want? And again, no right or wrong answer here. Unless you say kicker, which, by the way, I do want to get into Harrison Butker in a moment. We haven't talked about him yet because he had kind of an interesting year. But for those who do not want Jeremiah Love, who do you want and why? Because I feel like the only other name that makes the most sense, and the name that I'm hearing a lot of people put out there that they really want, would be the guy from Miami, Reuben Bain Jr., and the other edge guy, not Falk. He's not. I don't think he's going to fall that. David Bailey. Excuse me. I've seen some mock drafts have David Bailey going top 5, and I've seen some mocks saying he'll be, give or take, around number 10. So it kind of feels like those 3 guys are who the Chiefs would target if they stay with the 9th pick, and I think they will stay at number 9. Now, if you really, 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 really want Jeremiah Love, if you're Kansas City, I think you've got to move ahead of the Saints, because I don't know what the Alvin Kamara situation is going to be like. If they're trying to prepare for a future without Alvin Kamara, if that's what is going on in New Orleans, then I suppose Jeremiah Love would be a great guy for the Saints to draft. The safety from Ohio State, I was just looking his name up right before I read your comment. What's his name? I've seen him projected to go to the Bengals at number 10, right after the Chiefs. Caleb Downs, that's who you're talking about. Yeah, that, given Kansas City's safety situation, and it's not going to look good, because I think it was Kieran who called in earlier, was talking about, some of the defensive backs who are looking to move on. You have Brian Cook, who's maybe played his last game with the Chiefs. We don't know. Mike Edwards, is he going to come back? He was really good a couple of years ago in coverage. I thought he was actually underrated. This year didn't do much. Spent most of the season on the practice squad. I do like Christian Fulton. Christian Fulton's looked good in these last couple of games. I know you can't put too much stock in this game when you're going up against Kenny Pickett and Aiden O'Connell. But the week before, and I know the Broncos offense has not been consistent, but that's the number 1 team in the AFC, and Christian Fulton held his own in that game. In fact, he made a big play to help create an interception. Then you have Noah Williams, who should have played more, and he looked good whenever he was on the field. Shamari Connor, I think, is a hard hitter. I think he's a better safety than he is a nickelback. I think the Chiefs are forcing too much with him at nickelback. We'll see what they do with him moving forward, because he is still under contract. Maybe that's the guy who replaces Brian Cook. The other safety who you have on the team still under contract is Jaden Hicks. Jaden Hicks' playing time was up and down this year. And there's been a lot of people feel like Jaden Hicks should have been drafted sooner. So I'm excited to see what his 2026 is going to look like. Because I thought Jaden Hicks was going to have a big 2025 season, but his playing time was just weird and all over the place from week to week. I think that guy needs to be considered as a safety that gets a lot more playing time for Kansas City. So we'll see what happens with him. Is Love compared to Genty? Are they similar? I don't know. I don't know if he's being compared to Genty. I haven't looked at too much at these mock drafts and who they're being compared to. We'll get into that more. Max Crosby, what do you mean, Stacy? Because I just see Max Crosby with a question mark. To the Chiefs, the Raiders will not do that unless you're giving up the next 5 years of first-round draft picks, which Kansas City will not do for one player. No way. Confident in Fulton Salad, but he's injury prone. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Dame. Well, you guys disagree on Jaden Hicks. Okay. I got a question for you guys. What is your opinion on Harrison Butker right now? Because Harrison Butker got off to a really bad start. I think it was like the first 6 games where he either had a bad kickoff, a missed field goal, or a missed PAT. Now, all of his missed field goals were from long range. I know he had a PAT that was pushed back 15 yards because of a really lousy, unsportsmanlike penalty on Kareem Hunt, which should not have been called, but it was anyway. It's still, within his range. But he still missed some shorter PATs earlier in the season, too. Now, since then, Butker cleaned up a lot of shit this year. That Indianapolis Colts game, you do not win that game without Harrison Butker. This practice squad preseason game yesterday, you do not have a chance in hell without Harrison Butker. Butker kept you in the game and at one point gave you what should have been the game-winning field goal. So Butker, to me, I think is back into his normal form, though I will say I think every time he goes out there for a kick, I do get a little nervous. But I just think that yeah, he got off to a really bad start and everyone was freaking out saying, oh, it's time to get a new kicker. Well, he cleaned up a lot of stuff this year. So I think he proved that he is the guy for the job. Now, is Kansas City going to monitor his activity and off-season practices closely? Yeah, probably. Would they consider bringing in a second kicker for training camp, kind of like how they did with Matt Araiza bringing in Eddie Chapletsky? Maybe, but even then, I would say odds of that are extremely slim to none. I still think Harrison Butker is the guy. Oh, wow. A lot of you guys are saying either get competition for Butker or let him go after next year. Interesting. He changed back his kicking motion when he was missing kicks. He was upright. Yeah, I know a lot has been made about his kicking motion, especially last year when he had to miss 4 games to get a knee injury or a knee surgery. Okay, I'm surprised that listen, I see it in some comments here. I know there are people that may not like Butker personally, and I've gone over the Butker commencement speech before, so I'm not going to do that here. Listen, compared to some of the off-the-field issues you've had with a lot of other guys, I don't think the commencement speech is the worst thing in the world. Whether you agree with him or not, and I've said before, I didn't agree with everything he said, but I think as a kicker, man, if there's a guy I want kicking a field goal for me in the fourth quarter or in overtime, I want it to be Harrison Butker. And I've gone over this before, and I know this requires a lot of extensive research, and I've done it, and I don't think I've missed anything. I'm almost certain Harrison Butker has never missed a field goal. I don't think he's missed a PAT in the fourth quarter or in overtime. Has he? Can someone fact check me on that? I don't think he's had any misses when it really, really, really matters. Now, yes, like the Eagles game this year, he missed a kick in the first quarter or the second quarter. He missed a kick in the first half. That did lead to the Chiefs losing a 3-point game. That certainly does not help. But I think in the waning moments of a football game, I've never seen Harrison Butker miss a field goal. He won Super Bowl 57 late in the game. He tied Super Bowl 58 forcing overtime. He tied the 13-second game. If you do not tie it, you do not have that magical ending for Kansas City. He won the AFC Championship game to prevent overtime. When everybody thought after the Bengals punted the football back, everyone thought the game was going to overtime. What other? I mean, he had the game-winning field goal against the Colts, against the Bengals in the regular season. He's had a couple of regular season game winners as well. Yesterday, sure, you didn't win, but he made 4 field goals. When I understand you had all backups in there, you had a third stringer and a fourth string QB starting for you. I shouldn't say starting, but one played one half, the other played the second half. And Butker got you all of your points when nobody else was, and he had what should have been a game-winning field goal. So, to me, it's like Butker, I think, is the guy. So, I'm kind of surprised a lot of people are pushing back, saying that they should bring in competition or let him go after next year. Tommy Townsend, I think he's under contract with the Texans. He's doing a lot of great things. For some reason, you guys are calling him Tommy Thompson. It is most definitely Tommy Townsend. I agree. Butker is the best at his craft for sure. Yeah. I agree, Jennifer. Competition is good for any spot. And I know the coaches have always said competition always makes everyone better. So if they wanted to do that for Harrison Butker, fine. And listen, we saw in training camp, Eddie Chapletsky, I think he was only with the Chiefs for a week or two. I don't remember the exact date when he got officially cut from training camp, but they gave him an opportunity. And he was the best punter in college football last year. Now, being the best punter does not always translate to having a good NFL career. And I don't think anyone picked him up afterwards, which was kind of surprising, but look at what the Ravens replacement kicker just did last night. Yeah, but listen, as soon as he missed, I knew the Justin Tucker comments were coming. Like, everyone had a lot to say about Justin Tucker. Listen, there was a valid reason for the Ravens to move on from Justin Tucker. And yeah, say what you want about the Deshaun Watson situation, how the Browns felt the need to. Listen, it's Cleveland. Cleveland is desperate for anything. Cleveland, they are willing to give anybody an opportunity. They'll probably give Henry Ruggs a chance when he becomes available. Yeah, I like Ariza. Listen, Townsend was great. Colquitt was great. Kansas City, fortunately, has had a lot of good punters who are also holders for the team when it comes to field goal operations. Mekhi Lemon out of USC would be a nice big receiver to draft. The commentary mentioned his being clutch and not missing in the fourth quarter. Okay, so there you go. So he's never missed. And I've said that before. Like I said, and I've gone over the list of games, like Harrison Butker has never let you down in the late moments of any football game. So I still would roll it. I'll kick it with Butker than anyone else. See what I did there? He has been so reliable. He played himself into the highest paid kicker in the league in NFL history. Does it benefit the Chiefs at this point to look for cheaper options? Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, at the same time, with the kicker position, you're not spending that much money. I mean, kickers aren't living, the lavish Patrick Mahomes lifestyle, if you will. But listen, I get the Chiefs are trying to keep everyone when it's not possible. They have the highest paid center in league history, the highest paid defensive tackle, the highest paid guard, the highest paid kicker in NFL history. Mahomes is no longer the highest paid quarterback of all time, but he has the biggest contract in NFL history. They gave Travis Kelce a big pay raise 2 years ago, rather. So you can only do that for so long. And I do think Ariza was a far better part of this year. Last year, he had a lot. I think he co-led the league in touchbacks last year. I don't think that was the case this year. Fire Dave Tobe. Listen, I like Dave Tobe, especially with what he's done with the field goal operations, but the return game has been horrendous. I mean, it's been just all-time bad. You're not getting big returns. someone's holding at least every other play. Like it just doesn't work for them. And I don't know what happened because I remember Tobe was a candidate for a head coaching job his first couple of years in Kansas City. Special teams guys don't often get looked at for head coaching opportunities. Very, very few do. John Harbaugh, one of the very few special teams coordinators who's had a successful NFL career. I know he might be out of a job soon. I don't know. That's been the speculation for a while. I suppose it would have happened today, but we have seen some coaches get fired after Monday. Not often, but it does happen. Yeah, Tucker was a weirdo. Ever since that AFC Championship game when he was trying to mess with Mahomes and Kelsey, dude, everyone was like, oh, Kelsey's bullying a kicker. I don't see anyone complaining about that anymore. I think a lot of people should be thanking Travis Kelce. You know what's funny is right before he missed the kick, they were panning to Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers kicker, Mike Tomlin. Like everyone, NBC had every camera reaction ready to show Aaron Rodgers' last reaction as a Steeler, and that did not happen. Didn't happen that way. Listen, props to Baltimore. They figured it out after getting healthier, but man, the way they started this season and the way they ended this season, two heartbreakers. Last year was basically a rise as rookie year. He had a booming. Yeah, that is true. Given the weird situation he had, that was just sorry. What's up, Beskar? What's up, Brian? Happy New Year to you as well. How many drives started in their own 10-yard because of special teams holding? Yeah, that's a good point, Chris. How could you lose to the Steelers when you have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson? Yeah, I listen, that was a really boring football game for 3 quarters. And then all of a sudden, Lamar was finding guys wide open. Rodgers was finding it. Like that felt like I was watching a playoff game. And yeah, sure, that doesn't count as a playoff game, but it practically was a playoff game. That was one of the best football games I've seen this season. And there were some really good games the last couple of weeks to end the year, but boy, that might be one of the best regular season endings in some time. I like what I saw last night. From as someone that had no rooting interest, and I do like Lamar Jackson compared to most people who criticize him. I was pulling for Lamar, but man, that was a damn fun game to watch. If you did not have any rooting interest, you enjoyed that game. Mahomes has taken more sacks the past 2 years than ever, and incompletion is living for another down. Well, I think the problem with Patrick Mahomes is like every play has to be an A+ play for Mahomes. Like sometimes he just cannot accept the fact that, oh, okay, this play's busted, but I got to make something happen. And listen, he has made a lot of things work in the past, but sometimes some plays are just not there. Look, even if it's 3rd down, throw the ball away, take an L. You live you're going to live another day. You'll be okay. You'll live to see another day. He scared his head knocked off. I don't think so, but who was my favorite going into the playoffs? I mean, I like Denver's defense, but I'm a little unsure about their offense. New England I like, but I don't think they're experienced enough yet for a playoff run, though I do think they're going to be around for quite some time. And I think with more experience, they'll be able to make a deep run. Rodgers and the Steelers, I don't think they're getting DK Metcalf back, which is huge, despite not playing 2 games. And listen, I don't think there's anyone more happier than DK Metcalf. By the way, I don't know if you saw this, but NFL Memes posted a video of Google Maps, and they showed the plane going from Baltimore to Cancun, but the plane went wide right of Cancun. I thought that was original. I like that. That was pretty good. Yeah, Beskar, I see your comment about the Bills. I actually listen. If I had to bet on my AFC team, I have a hard time not saying the Bills. They're the most experienced coming into this from the AFC side, are they not? Because here's the thing. They're the most experienced team, but what's the knock on them? Josh Allen has never won a road playoff game before. He's lost 4 times to Patrick Mahomes, 3 of them at Arrowhead. And the excuse is, oh, it was at Arrowhead and the refs this and the refs that. And then they lose to the Bengals. And the excuse was, oh, the weather was not good. Man, it's like, how many excuses are going to make for Josh Allen? Well, there's no Joe Burrow. There's no Patrick Mahomes. So you better figure it out this time. Because if you do not find a way to win the AFC at the very least with Mahomes and Burrow and Lamar out, dude, there's going to be a big conversation about Josh Allen's legacy. And I would not be surprised if they have a head coaching change. I thought it was going to happen last year, but I think the Bills might go through a head coaching change if they don't pull out an AFC win this time. Because if not now, then when? Like at some point, you have to look at Sean McDermott and say, okay, this guy has not taken us above the divisional round or the AFC championship game. It's kind of like Doc Rivers. They made it to, I think it was with the 76ers. They made it to the conference title game 3 years in a row, but they couldn't get beyond that. It's like, okay, we got to move on. That's not a coach you fire unless you can find someone better. And I think the Bills can find someone better. Denver, listen, everyone thinks Denver's going to be a one and done team. They got the number 1 seed. Who would Denver lose to? If the Chargers win, I would pick Denver. If the Chargers beat the Patriots, that is, which I don't think that happens. The Bills against the Broncos? Oh boy. I would pick Denver to win that one. As great as Josh Allen is, Josh Allen has had a hard time against tough defenses. The Jaguars, well, can the Jaguars play the Broncos? I do not believe so. No, they can't. I don't think so. So the Texans, if the Texans or the Steelers play the Broncos, I would pick the Texans. I would not be so confident in picking the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers struggled against the Browns defense last week. I don't think he's going to survive that Denver defense. Cleveland only has one notable player on defense. Denver has many notable players on that defense. So I don't know. I don't agree Denver's going to be a one and done. I like the Bills, the Texans, and the Broncos in that order to represent the AFC. I think the Patriots, they've had a great season. I just think the inexperience is going to impact them this year. Maybe they beat, I think they'll beat the Chargers. But I think in the divisional round, that's when things might come to a halt. I really like the Jaguars. The Jaguars are an interesting dark horse team. Nobody's talking about the Jaguars. Nobody's talking about Liam Cohen. And I thought the Jaguars were going to be a team that might eventually slow down. They never slowed down, man. I mean, they won what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row to finish the season. So I like what I've seen from Jacksonville this year. On the NFC side, I do agree. Chicago is a dark horse team on the NFC side. All those people who were giving Caleb Williams shit, I don't think they're doing that anymore. Can you believe yesterday was the Broncos' only defensive I'll be honest, I didn't even. Here's what I hate about going to NFL games when it's an NFL Sunday. You don't really get to pay attention to a lot of the other action, and because I was on vacation, I didn't really bother looking up what happened with other games much. But man, that's why I prefer to attend games if it's a primetime game. Otherwise, I prefer to be home for NFL Sunday. But that's my choice. So I have to live with that. Listen, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is garbage, but he is just getting old. Stroud's kind of been up and down, though he's played a little better lately for sure. Yeah, I would not be surprised if we get Bills Bears Super Bowl. I would not. I really like Seattle. I also like the Rams. What did I think of the 49ers getting clobbered? Listen, I know a lot is made about San Francisco and just how, they're not able to get over the hump with Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan will eventually win a Super Bowl. People have even compared him to Andy Reid. It took Andy Reid a long time to finally win one. So I think eventually it will come for Kyle Shanahan. I don't think they're surviving the Eagles this weekend. I'll tell you that right now. But I'll give you guys all of my NFL picks later this week. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off here on that note. Hey, I appreciate everybody who called in to tonight's podcast. And for those who commented as well, big thank you as well. Listen, this has been a fun year. I wrote a post on social media, but I'll say it on here as well. Did I see the Jets are the only team did not get an interception? Yeah. What's worse, not getting an interception or not throwing a touchdown pass to a wide receiver? Like in this pass heavy league, you have to try to miss an interception or not get one all year long, but that's just football for you, I guess. But hey, this year has been awesome. And I say this every year, podcast, live stream, content numbers, they're up from the year before. We keep breaking our own records every year. And on top of that, listen, I'm not someone that makes a big deal out of followers, but there are a lot of other people who do. And because of my following, I guess my platform, that has translated to opportunities. That does not happen without your guys' support. The amount of opportunities I had this year, just professionally and also with this podcast, does not happen without you guys. So I greatly appreciate all of the support, whether you're from day one or you just started following this season. Every single one of you that interacts with a post, that watches a live stream, that calls in, shares any of the content, that greatly helps everything. So thank you guys so much. The 2025 season, from a gridiron standpoint, not great for the Chiefs, but that doesn't change what we do with the podcast and the content. Those numbers continue to go up, and I have you guys to thank for that. So I greatly appreciate all of you guys who have been so supportive of me and the podcast. We have big plans for 2026, and I think, you guys know I've teased a little bit of that before. Yeah, Bob's asking, what about every podcast, someone's asking about a live show. We're working on it. Listen, I know there are a lot of popular podcasts that do that kind of thing. I have no idea how to do any of that. So I'm learning as I go here. I am in communication with someone out there that's helping me out with possibly doing a live show. Don't know the date. Don't know specifically where. But if we can come to a deal and make it happen, we will do a live podcast. So trust me on that. That will happen if we can make it happen, and if it's a good deal for both sides, and if it makes sense. As a matter of fact, if you guys remember, I put a post asking about doing a live show, and the person who I was already in contact with, they were like, "Hey, I saw your post, and you were trying to get a feel for things," and he was happy to see that. So we're definitely in communication with that. Everyone just got back from the holidays, so we have not been in communication for a couple of weeks because of the holiday season. So we're going to be chatting real soon, but I'm hoping we can do something in the off season. My goal, if I could have it my way, would be a live show in the off season and another live show during the season. And by the way, I actually had a couple businesses from outside of the Kansas City area reach out to me. I don't think we're big enough to the point where we can do a live show from outside of the Kansas City metro area yet. But if there's a high demand for that, sure, we'll make it happen. We certainly will. So we will figure that out. Have Tammy Reed as a guest. Listen, you knew who I was. I was actually shocked. I'll say that much. I'll keep the rest of the conversations private, but she was awesome. He really is. Tammy Reed would be a great guest. So we'll see about that. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you again for a wonderful 2025 season and calendar year. Let's make 2026 even better. If you guys want to stay tuned, we'll still be doing podcasts. We're still doing Red Friday Q&A live chats. We are not going anywhere. Tomorrow, Zach Stegga and Mark Van Sickle, they will join me tomorrow to discuss the season more in detail and the upcoming offseason. So join me for that. Wednesday, we'll do another podcast. Friday will be the Red Friday Q&A live chat. And if there's a breaking news story that comes out at any point, we will go live immediately. So make sure you guys are locked in. Subscribe on YouTube. Turn on the bell notification so that way you'll know when we go live instantly. I'm Farzin Vousoughian. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I will talk to you all tomorrow night. Peace out.